be done by? Do you need to be aware by any particular...
No, I'm reading the messages that I'm getting from my
Are you sending talking points?
She is. It's better than having an earpiece.
Welcome to Cloud Realities Live at Microsoft Ignite 2025 here at the Moscone Center in San Francisco. I'm Dave Chapman.
I'm Esmee van der Giezen.
And there's no Rob Kernahan.
Do you hear the silence?
It's peaceful, isn't it?
Oh, you hear the crickets.
Nice. Not crickets, it's more like a calming feeling. Don't you think? Let's crack on, shall we? And I am delighted to say that with us, we have got Rob Lefferts, who's the CVP of Microsoft Threat Protection. Hi, Rob. How are you doing?
Doing great. Great to be here.
It was good to have you. Thanks for making a bit of time in what I'm sure is a pretty hectic conference schedule.
It is energizing. It is busy.
Has your feet touched the ground yet since you got here?
Well, I got in a day early, so I got to chill out, but today has just been off and running from the first moment.
It has gone fast, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we arrived on Sunday, and then when you fly in from the UK, you obviously have a fairly substantial time difference, right? So Sunday lasted about 36 hours, and then yesterday was like a day of prep. So it was like, finally, we're getting going. It's been the longest beginning of a week ever.
Well, I hope it's been good for you guys.
It has been.
It has been good, yeah.
Very exciting. Yeah.
What are the things that are resonating for you at the moment?
I think, especially looking at the conversation we're going to have right now, two things really stood out to me today. So first, Microsoft is pushing security straight into the flow of work with the new built-in security co-pilot agents. Yeah. So you suddenly have AI-driven threat hunting, triage, investigating in there. I think that is amazing. That's really good. So no extra tooling, no extra friction, just it's moving security from reactive defense to more proactive. Yep. And I think in general, that feels like a huge leap. So I'm really curious to hear about that. And the second thing I also like to dive into, that is have security in the entire life cycle, because that also feels like two separate worlds. We've got development and then, there's security. To be honest, that's what I see a lot happening on the ground.
Well, before we go specifically into those, and we'll absolutely come to them, the other thing I think that's just security generally is a major theme. And like generally you go to these things and security is paid lip service to, or somebody mentions it because they feel like they should. What struck me, I think, about some of the announcements that we've heard about this week already, including what Ez was talking about there, and things like Agent 365, is that it seems way more than lip service, and that a lot of emphasis is being put on the importance of security as AI becomes a scaling conversation rather than a POC conversation. So before we go into the specifics, Rob, I wonder from your seat, what's that feeling like? How are you framing up that movement?
Well, thank you for the observation. I agree with it. I do think there's multiple things at play here. One is the importance of security for the tech industry overall has been a journey. And so it's great to feel a little bit more like being ahead of the game rather than trying to come up with it afterwards and bolt it on. It is fair to say that in the past it has felt like and we do security, but we don't really wake up until the awful breach has happened. Right. And then everyone freaks out and now we jump all over it. So we've learned, and that's just a great feeling of we have learned.
Yeah.
The second thing I will say is that we are hearing it loud and clear from customers. It is a day zero concern for them about what is AI going to mean to my environment, what is it going to mean to my users and my data, and they're actively thinking about how am I going to make sure this will all be okay for the business in the long run.
Right.
And that with a little bit of we're trying to figure out where we're going together. Like just the journey of AI in the past 2 years is amazing. The pace of innovation is mind-blowing.
It is mind-blowing.
I feel like every couple months I reinvent the way that I do my own flow of work. It's like different. And I'm just more excited about the new things I can do.
Right.
I think that CEOs are seeing that, and you see the enthusiasm they have and how are we going to change the way our companies do work, and CISOs are feeling it as well. not only with this is going to make my security teams better, but also if everything's going to be different 6 months from now, how am I going to be ready for that?
Yeah.
Who is my trusted partner to work with me on where are we going together? And so that's where we're headed.
And the when you're talking to customers and organizations that are consuming the technology and they're coming forward with security concerns right from the outset, how are they framing them? Are they framing them from a point of view of this is a new technology and I am now just assuming that some form of additional threat vector is going to come with that? Or do they have more nuanced views like, hey, if we've got agents all across the organization, how on earth are we monitoring what those things are doing?
Yeah, the honest answer is both of those. I have talked to some companies who are so excited about what agents are going to do for their business that they've set forward visions like, we're going to have 1 billion agents in a year.
Wow.
We're just going to go.
Wow.
And I'm like, great, I'll write you the agent that'll make more agents. So like, I'll let you have that. But then the CISO is looking at that and saying, well, what does that mean?
Right.
How do I even scale to that? How do I even enumerate all of those objects? And so there is this sense of an open-ended journey. Where are we going?
Yeah.
But then there is also a lot of deep thinking on, hey, I can look at what this technology is and does, and I can enumerate 5 different attack points. If I can think of them, then I know attackers can. I know that we're actively out prototyping all the ways that this can be leveraged for attack scenarios.
Right.
And thinking through not only how are we going to build that, but more importantly, how are we going to defend against it? Because if we think of it, the broad ecosystem of attackers will do it too.
Well, so I'm really interested in terms of the product development cycle you might be in, given not only the speed of innovation that you were already talking about, which God knows is hard enough at the moment, but the point you just raised there, which is like how that speed of innovation is being leveraged by the attacker.
Yeah.
So where do you start with that, man?
Well, so first, you have to have a particular mindset about I'm willing to go on the adventure.
Yeah.
And so I'm impressed about the innovation from the attacker community. And it is a thing that I oppose and I fight every day, but it is a thing where like, dang, it's innovative.
Ton of innovation in it.
So just looking at how they're leveraging AI themselves, there's a list. There's already a laundry list. And a bunch of this is things that we knew they would go ahead and do. And a bunch of it is like, yep, they're coming up with new ideas.
Yeah, right.
But it starts with the very simple, like, how do I create a phishing email? And I'm sure we all remember the good old days when we trained users to look for spelling errors and grammar mistakes.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, don't bother.
Yeah.
Waste of time.
Yeah.
Because they're all AI-generated phishing lures. And that's actually changed the landscape. I talked to customers in Japan quite a bit. 5 years ago, they didn't have an at-scale phishing problem. Now they do. And they have big ransomware attacks breaking in through social engineering because attack groups across the globe have no more language barrier at scale.
Right.
The next example is generating new malware. The next example is malware that actually uses AI to change its behaviors in the midst of an attack. The next is the kind of things that we heard about from Anthropic about how people are leveraging that as an exploit vehicle to get into the organization. And then the last one I would actually point to is we're working towards a future where they're going to attack the AI itself. And I'm not here to scare people. I'm actually just here to say, like, we know that attackers view any new technology as attack surface.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if we can think of it, they will think of it too.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you think there's an evolution where AI itself becomes the attacker? Like yeah.
And we already see the early signs of that. Right. And sorry to, I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm just excited about it.
Yeah.
Because what it actually means is it changes the game in how quickly does a defensive team have to respond.
Right.
But to be honest, that's a real mind. I don't want to, say that everyone in CISO or security is quite control-minded, because that's, in essence, your job to control and defend and to keep everything strict. But the more you talk about it, the more excited you get. I actually also get excited about security, which I'm quite surprised about. But how do you actually shift that mindset? You must see that. Or is it just my blunt observation?
Well, let's get philosophical about security.
Okay,
So there are multiple parts of the problem. And part of it is trying to get control of an environment. I mentioned earlier, complexity breeds attacks. And so anything you can do to simplify your environment, like reducing technical debt, like getting on top of old unpatched versions of OSs, even the simple stuff makes a difference. Now, that creates an environment in which sometimes it feels like the security people are just trying to shut stuff down.
Yeah.
And that might be what you meant by control.
Yeah.
And I get that reputation, but at the end of the day, the hope I have for security people is they're there to, enable people to do more and do it in a way that they can trust the technology that they're using.
Yeah.
And that's a bit of a bridge on how do we go from, no, I'm just trying to lock it down, into I'm trying to lock it down in a way that makes you more productive. Footnote, AI can help with that. We can come back to that. But the other part of it is that it is about the uncontrollable. Because unlike a lot of other technology fields, there is an opponent who is working to upend every assumption that the defenders have and to change the game on them.
Right.
And that's where you get into I have to have a mindset that's ready for the unexpected, because the unexpected will always happen.
Yeah.
So let's pivot over onto the defenders.
Yeah.
And things like SOCs, so
Yeah.
security centers that historically have been about, eyes on glass, increased automation over time, vast amounts of data, like increasing on a, hourly basis.
Yeah. Quote a number, it'll be out of date.
Right. So a little sojourn into some of my history. So I was a CISO at one point in my career, like 20 odd years ago, and the world of the CISO at that point was perimeter based, very analogous to sort of physical security.
Yeah.
And then elements of kind of monitoring technology, but very, very little automation in it. And you would literally have a SOC, and you would look for like red lights coming on, and we better do something over there. And of course, over the last 20 years, that's changed massively to a point where automation and data mining and all of those sorts of things have been spotting patterns and threats and trends and stuff like that. In the world of agentic now, where you have potentially 1 billion agents over the next, whatever that's going to be, 5 years, each of which of them going to be generating even more data. You've got in the midst of that, to Esmee's point earlier, things like the security co-pilot agent, this new Agent 365 sort of monitoring activity. Well, even just trying to describe, I barely scratched the surface of that description.
Yeah.
How on earth are you managing that in a SOC now? What does that even look like?
A lot of these problems are consistent with problems that we've had before, but they're scaled up to the next 10x or 100x. And so what we look at, now any good computer scientist will be like, well, that means it's a different problem. Yes, but we start with the toolbox we've got and think about how we redefine it to work at that 10x, 100x. And so let's start with the basics. You brought up data visibility. Like, it's just one of the big core problems is, do I have all of the data I need to have? Am I able to afford all the data that I want to get access to and look at? And this is actually one of the big conversations with CISOs, is just like, how do I afford the storage for all the data?
Right.
And we spend a bunch of time thinking about that with things like Sentinel Data Lake, because one of the things that would break my heart is a CISO is like, well, I can't afford to keep that. And then 2 years later, that's the thing they needed.
Yeah.
That's the heartbreak scenario.
All right.
But once you've got data visibility and you've got, let's scale back. You got 1 million agents, a small number running around your organization using that data. Your immediate problem is, how do I even know what those agents are? It is about discovery and inventory, which is actually leading right into the framework of Agent 365.
Yeah.
And that's where it starts with. How do you onboard the agents? How do you make sure that they have a way you can discover all of them? We use Entra Agent ID for that, which is brilliant because it actually gets to the heart of, you wanted to do something with that agent, so it needed permission to data. and it needed permission to tools to communicate with humans and other agents. So you give it an agent ID, you give it permissions. Now we can inventory it. And now actually the security system is off to the races because it's got a list of assets that it can go look at. And we can think about those million agents as a million new kinds of special users in your environment, because they can run around and do all the things that users could do.
Right.
They can connect to data and applications, and they can get tricked and social engineered, and they can accidentally start sending stuff around to the wrong place. And so that's where we get into the security and observability part of it.
Do you think they'd be able to be lulled into being a double agent?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I say that with confidence because we've built the prototypes to show how you do that in a way that the end user wouldn't see or recognize. Again, I don't want people to be scared about that. I want them to sort of be eyes wide open and ready for it.
I think being aware is always the key, isn't it? Security. Like back in the day when I was a CISO, like this whole, like you had to step away from what was the phrase that group security always used to use, like security by obscurity is not good security.
Yeah. Okay, two things that you've fired off I gotta respond to. The one is this network perimeter thing, because there is an analogy here. The big transformation on network perimeter mindset was assume breach. This whole idea that you're going to build walls that keep people out, just give it up.
Yeah.
You're not going to manage to do that.
Dirty networks at the time, or having to talk to a CEO about having a dirty network, they literally couldn't get their head around it. And now, of course, it's like, you'd be crazy to think of anything else.
That's the world you live in.
Yeah.
You've got to redefine how you think about what are you doing for monitoring and response so that you can operate at speed in that environment and be effective. And now we have EDR and XDR and SIM, and it's a different mindset. The same thing happens again. It's a new problem. We go to 10x. We have to redefine it. But it's the same idea of don't assume that you're going to lock down all those agents.
Yeah.
Assume that they are going to get compromised and attacked and be ready for it.
Right. And without maybe going super deep, what does that look like? So is that because in something like 365, you can now see the behavior of a specific, or track the behavior of an agent and going, actually, I think he's like selling secrets.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
And it's not unlike some of the insider threat modeling you would do. When I said they're kind of like people, well, like maybe that agent is shipping my documents off to some random Dropbox account that I don't know about.
Right.
I'm now super curious how it got the credentials for that random Dropbox account. That's a whole good thing to go investigate. But there is a little bit of, is it behaving like an insider? But then there's an also like, is somebody trying to use your phrase, turn it into a double agent? Yeah. Are they feeding it malicious prompts? And one of the interesting things there is attack scenarios where they don't just use one sequence of prompts. They have multiple prompts coming from different places that then change the agent mindset and get it to do a set of things you wouldn't expect.
Right.
We have to watch for that in the security system.
Are we going to have a button like we have report spam, like the button in Outlook? Are we going to have like a button that says report scam, or, I don't trust this agent? What's the human part of it?
Agent.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting idea. I don't think we've gotten there yet. I do think there's a see something, say something.
I don't trust your agent.
A little bit more of like, this didn't do what I expected. Somebody should take a different look at it. Yeah. And that's, I think, a rational and reasonable idea. And in fact, probably not only the humans reporting on agents, but also agents being like, what that guy do? I don't trust that.
I know, it's strange, isn't it? Like, one thing that bit of conversation just triggered in my head is it helpful to anthropomorphize, I can never say that word, agents? Because if you treat them as like little bits of code that are running an automation for you, that's one thing. But actually, we and I've been totally guilty of this during the conversation, you treat them with like human-like facets.
Emotions, yeah.
And do you trust them or not? That kind of thing. From a security perspective, is it helpful to think of agents as human-like entities, or is it unhelpful, do you think?
It is helpful a lot of the time. But I'll say a little bit of agents are a wave and a particle. They're both a user and an app.
Right.
And so the user metaphor is super helpful because like the social engineering example is real, people are going to try to trick agents.
Yeah.
And we need tools to protect those agents that will look fairly similar to the tools we use to protect humans from being tricked.
Right.
The kinds of tricks are different. Humans, you want to create a sense of urgency and fear so their back brain takes over and they have narrow field of vision and they can't make rational decisions. Agents, they just want to be so darn helpful all the time. Like you really just have to confuse them about the context that they're operating in, and then they'll just try to be helpful and do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
But it is the same tricking them into the wrong behavior, and in that sense, the anthropomorphification. Maybe
I know.
close. I'm not sure I got there.
It is tough. It is tough.
Actually helps a little bit, but then you have to remember it's an app.
Yeah.
And it's running code, and it has access to code, and you can actually do a set of things with it that you wouldn't do with a user. Like it's easier to isolate the agent or to sandbox the agent for a period of time, and those are controls that we're putting in place.
Maybe just to bring our conversation to a little bit of a close for today, like there's so much going on in the space, and we talked about it earlier, the speed of innovation. And one of the things that we've touched on with some of your colleagues actually over the course of the last year or so is the technical aspect of the innovation has been getting faster and faster and faster on shorter and shorter cycles. There's an adoption lag aspect, I think, going on, which is the sort of consuming organizations beginning to do POCs and then beginning to think about scaling, but they're doing that at a rate that's not as fast as the technical innovation. And it feels like in the world of security in particular, that could introduce mistakes into your environment. So what would be the bits of advice that you would give to consuming organizations to get on top of that as a challenging situation?
Yeah, it's a thought-provoking question, because while it's true there is a lag, I think the lag also keeps getting shorter because every one of these ways of technology, I think there's enthusiasm. And I would actually say with the AI wave, organizations are closer on top of it than I have ever seen before.
Okay,
it's inspiring. And when I talk to security teams, like let's talk about defenders using AI just like attackers would. When I talk to security teams about leveraging agents and AI insights to supercharge and accelerate what they do, they are all over it. They are deploying it themselves. They are writing their own agents. They want more from us to make that available. So just the enthusiasm is great. But the recommendation is clear. Do not sit on the sidelines and be afraid. Jump into the pool with both feet. Learn about what the technology has. Like, there's a lot of hype.
Yeah.
But the only way to address that is to become informed yourself and get your hands dirty with the technology.
Great note to end on, Rob. Thank you very much for your time again today. Excellent insight into an increasingly fast-moving world.
Thank you.
Now, we're ending each show at the conference in particular by trying to draw some lines between the reality of what we're dealing with here, because it's ever more sci-fi, and how, kind of this world has been represented in the world of film. So I wonder if you've got a film that deals with technology or the technology industry that has resonated with you either for good reasons or bad reasons.
Well, I'm going to actually talk about iRobot.
Very good.
And I'm actually going to lead from the film back into the source material from Asimov and talk about, he had this thing in his books, all these books about the 3 laws of robotics.
3 laws, yeah.
I see nodding. Everybody's on board. Yes.
do you know them off the top of your head?
Do what a human says. Don't do any harm to yourself. Don't do any harm to a human.
Right.
In roughly...
I mean, that feels quite good, doesn't it, in the context of the conversation we just had?
And so one of the big questions that I find myself thinking about is, in a world in which we're inventing robots, agents, running around doing stuff for us, how are we going to make sure that not only we imbue those principles into them, because I think they're solid, like do what you said, don't break anything, don't break yourself. How do we make sure that is true? At the same time, how do we verify constantly? That assume breach principle is there, and so we need all the tools in place to make sure that we're watching at every step, and maybe not even how we're talking about today, where we can get into the inputs and the outputs and the behaviors. But it seems like we should get into a future where we start to monitor the chains of thought and intent of what the agent thought it wanted to do.
Right.
And now we can really have a robust system.
Yeah, and that gets difficult, doesn't it? Because if you think about the way that we do that with humans, that's where you get like the legal profession, for example.
Yeah. Well,
Don't get me started. That's what I see.
that's way out there. I just want to have more telemetry from the agents. So I'm going to start there.
Well, let's see where we get to. The other question I was going to ask you, based on your profession, is what do you make of the fact that the Louvre CCTV password was Louvre? Did you see that? I don't know where you stand on passwords.
I was completely not surprised. It wasn't my first guess.
All right.
My first guess was that it was just password.
Right. I went with Mona Lisa, but with a 1 as the eye.
No, see, that's way too creative. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, okay, just to get carried away, like, I bet most people could go guess the admin passwords to all the safes in all the hotels around here.
Yeah, that's probably true. That's probably true, at least based on what happened at the Louvre. Eh?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, Rob, thanks again, man.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoy the rest of Ignite.
Thank you. You too. This was great. Thanks.
Want to dive deeper in today's topics and what they mean for you and your business? Drop us a line at cloudrealities@capgemini.com. We're on Substack and LinkedIn, so connect, DM, and send us your questions for future episodes. And hey, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to our show. It really helps us improve. A big thanks to Rob, our sound and editing wizards Ben and Louie, producer Marcel, and of course you for tuning in. See you in another Microsoft Reality soon.